fire say, hey, he had a seizure, witness seizure. He's just unresponsive now. What do we call that phase? Postictal, very good. He's just postictal. I said, oh, all right. Well, he looks completely unconscious. He doesn't look altered. He looks completely unconscious. And they're like, yeah, but I said, I know, but his vital signs are fine. BP, 120/80, heart rate is 92, all this stuff. And I'm like, dang, okay. Throw him on the stretcher, get him in the truck. My partner says, I don't think he's breathing, man. I'm like, well, of course he's breathing, dude. I look at him, I'm like, oh, snap. Start bagging him, and I throw him on the monitor to watch the last second of VTAC into asystole. What is the success rate from asystole to VTAC? Do you remember? It's huge. A witnessed VFib arrest, some electrical activity, is 30%. 3 out of 10 people come back from that. 30 out of 100, right? Nationally. And asystole, or as I watched the VTAC slip, I just watched his success chances go from 30% to 5%. That 29-year-old kid stayed dead. Don't smile at that. He stayed dead, okay? And you don't need too many cocktails and need for me to tell you, I killed that kid. And I'll think that probably for the rest of my life, right? Because I'm like, dang, if I was smarter, if I'd got him on the monitor sooner, if I'd have just done my own work instead of saying, okay, I mean, he looks weird, but they said his blood pressure is all right, and maybe it's fine. Maybe that dude had a wedding one day, you know what I mean? So what I mean to say is, and I learned that day, and now you will ideally learn, that if your heart has a seizure, sometimes so do you. That when you go into VFib, sometimes your body just reacts that way. It's what they call a VFib seizure, which is not a seizure at all, but it looks like it. Okay? And those are the kind of things that the registry will ask you to be like, how should you know, or which should you suspect? This man has a seizure and is now in cardiac arrest, VTAC, VFib, asystole, and you're going to be like, what? If I hadn't mentioned that, or you didn't know that, you'd be like, what in the world does a neurovascular issue have to do with what type of dysrhythmia they're in? I'm like, well, because it's not about a seizure at all. It's about what it presents as. And that'll be how you kind of get through AEMT, is differentiating these concepts. Can I just do my We're going to jump around a little bit here because I'm worried, brevity not being my strong suit, which will surprise you all, that I'm going to talk about I want to talk about the most important things first. We're going to jump around a little bit here. A lot of it. One of the things I want to start talking about is that I think you might get yourself into trouble if you start, this is probably better not remembered visually. You will likely not see a picture of this and have to differentiate them. But if you do, here's mostly what I need from you. What shape is this mostly akin to? Triangle. What shape is this mostly akin to? Circle, right? Is this one larger than this one? It is. And in most cases on 12 leads or monitors or whatever, the ventricular depolarization, I don't like this word here, the ventricular depolarization is going to be larger because why?
It's larger force, larger pressure, the contractions.
It's bigger. Right? That's why I lift more weights. It's bigger. Right? And the P wave essentially is atrial depolarization, smaller. More to the point, it has less cells with automaticity and so on and so forth, less conductive cells specifically. Why is it that ventricular repolarization is bigger than atrial depolarization? It's because the ventricles are bigger. Why is it that the repolarization isn't as big as the depolarization? Well, because it's less power. It takes less energy to recharge it than it does to discharge it. I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. Okay. But here's here's the image and whatnot, but I would rather you understand it conceptually, that when I say, what is a P wave, you don't say, well, it's 0.32 for the PR interval, it's no less than P mitral, is a hum denoting, no. I would rather you say, P wave is atrial depolarization, and that's what you know. What is a QRS complex? That is ventricular depolarization, and that is what you know. And then you know the trick question coming, which is, which of these is explicitly describes the P wave, contraction or depolarization? Is it mechanical or chemical, this? Well, it's chemical. It's electricity. How would I know if it was mechanical? I think you answered it last time.
Feel a pulse.
If you feel a pulse, you can feel the
I
mechanical.
was like, wait, I did answer this right when I
That's
said
right.
it.
Like, I can't be expected to remember crap I knew.
Whoa, chill. I knew it Tuesday, not today.
I get it.
Chill.
Hey, I get it. Okay, is that enough? I think that's enough. Yeah.
Carmen, wow.
We know about, what do you know about the SA node? What do I want you to know about the SA node? Tony, what do you got?
It's a natural pacemaker.
Natural pacemaker, what's its rate?
Oh, faster than what the AV wants it to be.
That is true, but not ultimately what I'm looking for.
Number?
Yeah.
Yeah, 60.
Yeah, right? Because it's the natural pacemaker. We'll get here and, am I getting ahead of myself? Yeah, okay. Do you see what's happening here? The speed at which the signal is moving? What do you suppose is the purpose of the AV node?
It slows it down.
Slows it down. Why does it slow it down?
It slows everything down so that way it allows the atriums to overflow blood.
Madly in love with you. Absolutely. What you got?
So Starling?
So Starling's law can take effect. Yeah, no word score. I like it. Okay. So the purpose of the SA node is the it sets the beat for the heart, right? Its intrinsic rate is 60 to 100, and that's fantastic. If I reach in to India's chest and pull her heart out, will it continue to beat?
Yeah.
Yes, it will.
For a minute.
Assuming it's beating now, right? It will,
She's happy.
right? When I reach where a heart should be, and I pull out this crusty black sock, right? There it is. Because socks,
It's in your
I regret the adjective. Okay. Anyway, the point here is that the heart beats without any innervation. My bicep does not. It requires the innervation for it to move. I have to think about it. There's actually, I forget if somebody knows, you can fill me in, but there's actually sensory organs in our bicep that allow us to react to heat before it gets to our brain. Meaning I can feel something hot, my hand reacts, and I'm like, that was that. Your brain didn't even think it. But it's not the bicep doing it, it's still the nerves there. They're just quick to receive it. They don't even need to ask the brain for permission. The heart is different. It needs no permission to beat. But it will go up and down based on hormone levels and innervation. Okay? We'll get into that in just a minute. Now time. I guess I'm just going to say it now. I'm worried I'm going to forget it. Your brain has a series of wires coming out of it. And it goes to all over your body. It goes to your arms so that when you think, hey, I really want to walk over there and smack Destiny in the face. Well, I'm going to need to send the signal to my feet, get closer and closer, send the signal to my hand, and make sure I still have a career by not doing that, right? However, the heart doesn't require that, but it still has a wire. It still has a wire from the brain directly to your heart. Why is that? If it can beat on its own, why is it that my brain has a wire directly to my heart?
It needs to know the conditions in which it's in.
Yes! Bear pops out. Whoop, it's like, hey, I know you're cruising along at 70, but you better pick it up, right? Because the heart has no eyes, right? It's a poem I made. It's prose.
Eyes for these.
Awesome.
She's so good.
Slam dunk. Okay.
So lucky.
Yeah. Okay. What that means is, do you remember a conversation about distributive shock? Do you remember a conversation specifically about neurogenic shock?
Yeah.
Spine is damaged. Knowing what we just discussed, why should I suspect bradycardia and neurogenic shock?
Damage the nerve that controls that.
Because a part of your brain is saying, hey, heart, a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit up, a little bit down. And if it's no longer getting that innervation, then the heart rate will go down because it's got that wire snipped. Right? It won't stop beating. Right? Peyton, why won't the heart stop beating if I snip your spine wire? And the word that describes why, dude, I used to ask this on the truck all the time because of the amount of times I saw it on the registry. What makes the cardiac cell so unique is a word that starts with an A. Automaticity. What automaticity means is that it's like saying a log starts its own fire, right? What it's saying is that these heart cells can not only generate, but conduct their own electricity. They don't need stimulation from the brain, hypothalamus, or hormonal influence from the pituitary. They can do it all their own. Now, the words we need to kind of know about this are excitability, conductivity, and automaticity. These words get super confusing when you study them correctly. I'll show you a picture that I stole and then put words over it because I couldn't get Mr. Harris to draw me a picture in time. What I would recommend writing here is something like excitability, respond, conductivity, conduct, automaticity, generate, something like that. In fact, that's what I've done right here. Automaticity is her coming up with an idea all on her own and communicating that idea to the cell next to her. Conductivity is that cell. It didn't necessarily generate it, but really it's just conveying it now to the next cell. And that would be the communication element. She says, hey, did you hear about a birthday party? He says, no, I didn't, but I'll tell the next guy. Excitability is that guy saying, oh snap, birthday party, right? Now what this means in regards to cardiac cells is that all of these things have to be functioning correctly for the message to get all the way through. If you've got a ton of good automaticity that's generating great messages and you are so ready to hear about the next birthday party, but your conductivity is low, the message won't get through. You won't have an appropriate heartbeat. There's also other issues. If your heart is too excitable, if you have too much excitation, then even though you just gave a quiet message about, hey, don't forget, in 2 weeks, there's that test, there's a birthday coming like in a year. There's a birthday coming in a year. It's a very deep, docile message. And the conductivity is also good. It's just no problem. I'll remind him. It's not that far away. And he's like, birthday again! Oh my God, right? What that is an issue of an excited or too much excitement for a heart. And that's where we get PVCs from. That's where we get dysrhythmias from. If your heart is too excitable, it will throw off the mix. And so all these things need to be in appropriate balance. Too much, too little of any of these concepts might be an issue. Okay? These are the properties of cardiac cells: excitability, conductivity, and automaticity. These are the kind of questions you'll get that should be softballs. So hit that sucker right over the fence. It'll create an example and then reference properties of cardiac cells. Which of these is what I just described? Excitability, automaticity. 10 to 1, the answer is going to be automaticity. If you don't know nothing about nothing and automaticity's on there, you ought to guess that one. I'd rather you just understand it, but boy, if I had to guess, it would be that one. Which means on my test it won't be now, but, or will. Rude. I'll just make 2. We'll just split it. All right. Do I want to talk? I really want to talk refractory toilet. I don't know. We'll get to it. All right. Don't write this just yet. I'm just saving space here. Actually, I can help you. Oh no. No one in here speaks Spanish, right?
No. I can barely speak English.
Let's take a break.